This week I've been driving the 2023 Honda Accord. It is classified as a mid-size sedan. This is the all-new 11th generation Accord. Let's dive into it. And let's quickly talk about the trims that the Accord is offered in. So there are kind of two different options when you're looking at Accord. You can get the regular Accord or a hybrid Accord. If you are looking at the non-hybrid version, that is offered in the LX or EX versions. If you're looking at the hybrid versions, you're looking at the Sport Hybrid, which is what this is right here. You also have the EXL Hybrid, the Sport L Hybrid, and the Touring Hybrid. All right, and let's quickly talk about the exterior, starting with this paint that is radiant red, which looks really good on this thing. It is long, has clean body lines, and a strong, powerful front end with an upright grille and blacked out LED headlights. That grille does look really nice here on this new design. The headlights are long and thin, kind of looking like the old 90s Accord, which I do like. We have 19-inch wheels in machine finished alloy with black inserts. We've got a bit of a rear spoiler, which again, I think looks good and adds to the sportiness of this vehicle. And then you have those distinctive horizontal LED straight line taillights, which accent the Accord's wide stance. Overall size, you have a length of 195.7 inches, a wheelbase of 111.4 inches, a height of 57.1 inches, a width of 73.3 inches, and a ground clearance of 5.3 inches. All right, let's quickly talk about the trunk and the cargo volume. It does pop open easily, and you've got a ton of cargo space here, and we did pack it full of all kinds of gear for our little travel that we did this week. You have a total of 16.7 cubic feet of cargo volume, which again, for a mid-size sedan, that's pretty good. Let's go check out the engine. All right, and like I said, there are two different options, the non-hybrid and the hybrid version. If you're looking at the non-hybrid, it is the same 1.5 liter four-cylinder turbocharged engine that you got in the previous generations. This one though is the new 2-liter four-cylinder hybrid engine. This pushes 204 horsepower, 247 pound-feet of torque, and is matched up to a CVT, which would be my only gripe about this setup, but it is really good. I'll talk more about that as we drive it, but first let's jump in and start taking a look at the interior. All right guys, we're inside the Accord right now, and first thing we'll look at is these seats. They are really nice. The Sport comes with cloth seats, but these are leather seats, perforated leather. Nice stitching, really comfortable. Again, we took this thing out on a road trip, put a lot of miles on it, and this was super comfortable to drive. The driver's seat is 10-way power adjustable. They are heated seats, not ventilated seats. Passenger side is manually adjustable, and the only complaint that I had from both my kids and wife was that it had no height adjustment, so they couldn't lift it up more. But for the driver, lots of adjustment and fantastic. Looking more to our dash, the interior is all black on black. You've got piano gloss black in here that actually doesn't attract too many fingerprints. One of the more quirky things that my wife didn't like but kids did like and I think looks kind of cool is this extra grille around the air vents. So the air vents are tucked back in here, but it has this nice grille kind of breaking up the area. It is push button start, so let's go ahead and kick it on. And you can see here on the steering column, it says hybrid. That's pretty interesting. But we'll kick it on. You can see our 12.3-inch digital touchscreen display. We do have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto available, and it is wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And Honda's system here is good. It's easy to navigate. It's easy to figure out what you're doing. Plenty of different options. You can see some of your trip info here, which we'll get back into the fuel economy, but you can see it is really good. You can see the power flow from the hybrid engine. You have Alexa built in. We don't have navigation built in, but during our trip, we basically used Apple CarPlay the entire time anyways. Below the screen and the vents is all your AC and heat controls. Again, heated seat button over here for both sides. And below those controls, you've got USB Type-C charging ports. One just charges, one charges and interfaces with the infotainment system. Got a little shelf down here. It's not a wireless charger or anything, but in upper models it might be. We have our traditional gear shifter here. Put it into reverse. We do have a backup camera. Then you have your drive mode select, which gives you an econ mode, a normal mode, sport mode, and an individual mode, which kind of lets you just customize what you're looking for. We'll put it into sport mode when we drive it and see how it feels, but basically the entire week I've been driving it just in normal mode, not even in econ mode. But again, that's your drive mode select. You also have a button to go into EV only mode if you've got enough charge on the battery. You've got your electronic parking brake and a brake hold button. Of course, some cup holders, armrest, nice and squishy. Felt good throughout the trip that we did. Nice big size, and there's an extra port down there for an accessory plug. Steering wheel is a leather wrap steering wheel. Feels good in the hands. We do have paddle shifters, but remember we do have a CVT transmission, so there's no actual gears that you're shifting through. You've got controls on the steering wheel. They're super easy to figure out about. Volume controls, great placement. And then you've got your cruise and safety settings over here, which we did utilize on this trip, and I'll talk more about as we drive it here. And behind the steering wheel is your digital gauge cluster. Lots of information here, and it can be thumbed through from the steering wheel on this side and this one on this side. But you'll see navigation, driver safety, seat belts, maintenance, safety support, brightness settings, vehicle stability, gauge settings, power flow, and we basically just kept it in the range. We also do have the sunroof here, which is great, but really didn't open it the entire week. Kind of glossed over the back seats, but they are pretty good. This is a mid-size car, but really close to full size. We did have the kids 3 wide in the back. They weren't super comfortable, but it worked out. But for most of our long journeys, we just had 2. But yeah, fantastic interior to match the fantastic exterior. Let's get it out on the road, drive it, and see what we think about the drive. All right, well, let's get this thing out on the road. We're just in normal mode. Put it into drive. With the hybrid system, you do start off in kind of an EV setting if you've got enough battery. But if you don't, like we kind of don't right now, you do quickly turn into gas mode. And the first thing I'll say is that it drives really smoothly, especially on smooth, nice pavement, and you're going slow. But with those super low profile tires, even being all season tires, it is a bit of a rough drive, especially when you're on back more country roads that are a bit more rough. You can really feel the grooves in the road. You can feel any kind of bumps or potholes. Not terrible. It's very sporty feeling, but if you get a different trim maybe, or something with a bigger tire on it, it's gonna be a better driving experience. Fuel economy wise, you're looking at 46 city, 41 highway, and 44 combined. And that's for this, the Sport Hybrid. Obviously, the non-hybrid's gonna get worse fuel economy. And actually the higher trims of the hybrid get a little bit better fuel economy than this Sport. And as you saw, we've been averaging right at about 40 miles per gallon. Again, driving this thing in normal mode, not eco mode, not really keeping it light, but we did do a lot of highway miles, a lot of the 60, 70 mile an hour roads during our trips, and not a whole lot of low speed, lots of stopping. Either way, I think that 40 miles per gallon is a really good number to hit, especially for road trips. Basically, we filled up once and had plenty of gas to get there and back, and didn't have to worry about filling up or how much money I was going to be spending on gas for the trip. And again, we even had this thing loaded with people and gear in the back. So yeah, that 40 miles per gallon is good. Of course, we do have those drive modes to play with, including a sport mode, but you don't really need the sport mode to get this thing up and going quickly. That engine is very responsive. Steering is very responsive. We did hit a lot of really windy back roads, and even with the family in the car, I had a little bit of fun. The Honda feels very planted. You feel low. It is a wide stance. Really just great steering feel, nice responsiveness from the engine. All works together to make this a great driving car. Like I said, we do have that CVT. If we had a traditional gearbox, it might feel a little bit better, but Honda's done an amazing job keeping the CVT feeling really good and solid, and this thing just goes. You really don't think about it, which is the highest praise I can give to a car with a CVT. And we're on a bit of a rougher surfaced road right now. You might be able to hear it through the microphone, but the road noise can be pretty loud, especially in this sports trim, and of course with those low profile tires. But all in all, it's not terrible, and for day-to-day driving, you're not going to notice it too much. Another great feature driving this is the safety features in the car. You do have sensors on the car, although it doesn't have front sensors. You do have the backup camera. You do have lots of good safety things, but the main thing, especially for trips like we took, is the radar-guided cruise control and lane keeping assist. And trust me, I used the heck out of it during our trip. It does a really good job of keeping you a certain distance from another vehicle, keeping you going without hitting the accelerator pedal, keeping you in between the lanes as long as the lanes are clearly marked. There were times where I felt like it was bouncing back and forth a little bit too much, or fighting me if I was holding the steering wheel trying to stay in the lane. It was pushing me too far over to one side, I felt like. But other than that, it did a fantastic job the entire time. And again, one of the big things is just comfort, driving position, and being able to touch stuff and control things as you're driving. And working with the Accord is really easy. Honda's definitely nailed the ergonomics of vehicles. The touchscreen is super easy to maneuver using the controls on the steering wheel. Very easy. Seating position is really comfortable. Being able to hold the steering wheel, super comfortable. Sport pedals are still very grippy and look nice. Really have nothing bad to say about the Accord and the way that it drives. With that, I think it's time to go get back in a parking spot. We'll talk about the price, and then I'll jump out, give you some of my final thoughts, and we'll wrap this thing up. All right, guys, with that, let's go ahead and talk about the price with the new Accord. Starting with the base, the LX, it bases at $27,895. So if you don't care about all the bells and whistles, you just want a nice looking mid-size sedan that's a really good size for a mid-size, I think that base sounds really reasonable. Of course, I haven't driven it. I don't know how that engine feels compared to this one, and I'm not exactly sure what you lose as far as tech goes, but this one is by no means the top of the line, which we usually get kind of top of the line vehicles when we do reviews, but I like where this one sits. It is the Sport Hybrid. It is the lowest trimmed hybrid you can get, and this one bases at $31,895, and our full MSRP here with destination charge and just a little bit of options. I think the paint was an extra, a couple $100, is just over $33,000. And then the top of the line, the Touring Hybrid, bases at just under $40K, but really easily goes over $40K with any kind of options and destination charge. And of course, this vehicle has a ton of competition out there. I'm not even gonna rattle off a lot of them, but there are a lot of great vehicles out there that you can compare this with. One of my favorites is the Kia K5 or Hyundai Sonata, obviously the Mazda 6. But let's go ahead and jump out. I'll give you some of my final thoughts and we'll wrap this thing up. So I actually already drove this exact vehicle at our Auto Roundup event and did a first drive review on that. I'll leave a link down in the description if you're interested in checking that one out. But during that drive, I was really impressed with the new Accord. And after a full week of driving it, carting the family out on some trips, really putting some miles on this thing, I am still really impressed with it. And go figure that the Accord has been one of America's #1 selling vehicles for the last 50 years. I don't really have to give it the thumbs up to give it the seal of approval, but if you're interested, yes, I do think it's worth taking a look at if you're in the market for a midsize sedan like this. With that, I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the Accord. Subscribe to the channel if you're into automotive reviews. We do a different one every week. Also, go check out txgarage.com, where we do a lot of written reviews as well as event news coverage over there by a lot of great authors, not just myself. But with that, that's all I got for this one. Thanks for watching.